Endocrine system. Our body has two major regulatory systems. They are nervous and endocrine systems. Together, they regulate and coordinate the activities of all other body structures. The endocrine system sends information to the tissues and controls in the form of chemical signals. These signals in the form of hormones are released into circulatory system. They are carried to all parts of the body. Body cells are able to recognize the chemical signals and respond to them. The hormones of the endocrine glands regulate and control functioning of several organs in the body. Thus, the system in general helps to maintain homeostasis. There are several endocrine glands in our body. The major glands are the pituitary, thyroid, parathyroid, pancreas, adrenals, testes, and ovaries. Pituitary gland, this one, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, adrenal glands, above the kidneys, pancreas, ovaries, testes. The major endocrine glands and outstanding of the structure and form of each endocrine gland and secretory product and the means by which activity is regulated is absolutely essential. This knowledge will help us to treat several diseases related to these glands. Pituitary gland or hypophysis. It is an organ that secretes eight major hormones. These hormones regulate numerous body functions and control secretory activities of several other endocrine glands. The hypothalamus of the brain is connected to the pituitary. The posterior pituitary is an extension of hypothalamus. Structure of the pituitary gland. This gland is approximately 1 centimeter in diameter. It weighs 0.5 to 1 gram. It is placed in a region called the sella turcica of the sphenoid bone in the floor of the skull. It is placed inferior, inferior to the hypothalamus. It is connected to it by stalk of tissue called the infundibulum. Based on origin and function, the pituitary is divided into two parts. They are posterior pituitary or neurophysis and anterior pituitary adenohypophysis. Hypothalamus, infundibulum, adenohypophysis, anterior pituitary, neurohypophysis, posterior pituitary, pars tuberalis, pars distalis, pars intermedia. Entire uh, and the pituitary gland. Yes, posterior pituitary. The posterior pituitary is continuous with the brain. Hence, it is called the neurohypophysis. During embryonic development, it is formed as an outgrowth of the inferior part of the brain. In the area of the hypothalamus, the outgrowth of the brain forms the infundibulum. The distal end of the infundibulum enlarges to form posterior pituitary. Since this part of pituitary is an extension of the nervous system, its secretions are known as neurohormones. Anterior pituitary. During embryonic development, an outpocketing of the roof of the oral cavity arises. It is called as the Rask's pouch. This pouch grows towards the posterior pituitary. Later, the pouch loses its connection with the oral cavity and becomes the anterior pituitary. The anterior pituitary is subdivided into three areas. They are the pars tubularis, pars distalis, and pars intermedia. Relationship of pituitary to the brain. This is main important point. There is a network of blood vessels on the hypothalamus. It is called the pituitary capillary network. A portal system called the hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system extends from a part of hypothalamus anterior pituitary. A portal blood vessel begins and ends as capillaries. The portal system is turned open into the secondary capillary network of the anterior pituitary. The neurohormones produced by the hypothalamus are collected by the primary capillary network. Through the portal system, they enter into the secondary network of the anterior pituitary. Thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is composed of two lobes. They are placed on lateral sides of the upper portion of the trachea. These lobes are connected by a narrow band of thyroid tissues called the isthmus. The isthmus extends the anterior aspect of the trachea. This one, trachea, thyroid, parathyroid, glandular cells, acinus, thyroid and parathyroid glands. Thyroid gland cross section. The thyroid is one of the largest endocrine glands. It weighs approximately 20 grams. It is richly supplied with blood capillaries. It is more red than its neighboring tissues. The gland is composed of numerous follicles. They are small spheres. Their walls are made of cuboidal epithelial cells. The central cavity or lumen of each follicle is filled with a protein called thyroglobulin. It stores large amount of thyroid hormone. The thyroid secretes thyroxine and calcitonin. Parathyroid glands. The parathyroid glands are found in association with the thyroid glands. They are found embedded in the posterior part of each lobe of the thyroid gland. There are four parathyroid glands inside the gland. The cells are organized in densely packed masses. The cells of the gland secrete parathyroid hormone. Adrenal glands are suprarenal glands. These glands are found near the superior pole of each kidney. They are surrounded by adipose tissue. The glands are enclosed by connective tissue capsule. The adrenal glands are composed of an inner medulla and outer cortex. These regions are formed from two separate embryonic tissues. The medulla consists of polyhedral cells. They are centrally located in the gland. The cortex is composed of smaller cells. These cells form three distinct layers, namely the zona glomerulosa, the zona fasciculata, and the zona reticularis. These layers are structurally and functionally specialized. The adrenal medulla secretes two major hormones. They are epinephrine or adrenaline and norepinephrine or noradrenaline. The hormones of the adrenal cortex are cortisol and aldosterone. Pancreas. The pancreas lies between the greater curvature of the stomach and the duodenum. It is enlarged structure. It is approximately 15 centimeter long. It weighs 85 to 100 grams. The pancreas is both an exocrine and an endocrine gland. The endocrine part consists of pancreatic islets of longer horns. They are approximately 5 lakh to 10 lakh or 1 million in number. The islets are distributed in the pancreas are composed of alpha cells 20%, beta cells 75%, while cells secrete glucagon, the beta cells secrete insulin. A third type of cell called the delta. Delta cells 5% have been identified. These cells secrete somatostatin. Urinary system. It is customary to rank the organs of urinary excretion and reproduction and urogenital system. The suitability of this concept is questionable. The urinary and reproductive organs differ in their embryological origin and development and postnatal human beings. The association between the components of the urinary and reproductive system is very much limited. Hence, the urinary and reproductive systems are considered separately. The urinary organs comprise two kidneys, renes, ureters, urinary bladder, vesica urinaria, and urethra. This is renal vein, renal artery, this one kidney, one is also kidney. Kidneys are two in number, ureter, urinary bladder, urethra. This is used for urine disposal. This is human urinary system. The kidneys. The kidneys are bean-shaped organs. This is main important topic for examination. The kidneys are bean-shaped organs. In fresh state, the kidneys are reddish brown in color. They lie on the posterior abdominal wall in the abdomen. The right kidney is slightly lower than the left. It is because of the presence of liver superior to it. The kidneys are surrounded by adipose tissues. Each kidney is about 11 centimeter in length, 6 centimeter in breadth, and 3 centimeter anterior-posterior dimensions. In adult males, the average weight of kidneys is about 150 gram. In adult female, 135 gram. This one is cortex. This one is renal pyramid. This one is calyx. This one is medulla. This one renal hilum, renal artery, renal vein, renal pelvis. This one is ureter. This one is whole kidney. The inner margin of each kidney has small depression called the hilum. The renal artery and narrows enter the renal vein and the ureter exit at this region. The hilum opens into a cavity called the renal sinus. Each kidney is enclosed by a fibrous connective tissue layer called the renal capsule. Internally, the kidney is divided into an outer cortex and inner medulla. The medulla consists of several cone-shaped renal pyramids. Extensions of pyramids called the medullary rays project from the pyramids into the cortex. Extension of the cortex called renal columns project between the pyramids. The tips of the pyramid are called renal papillae. They are pointed toward the renal sinus. The renal papillae are surrounded by funnel-shaped structures called the minor classes. The minor classes of several pyramids join together to form larger funnels called major classes. There are up to 20 minor classes and 2 or 3 major classes per kidney. The major classes converge to form an enlarged channel called the renal pelvis. The renal pelvis then narrows to form the ureter. The ureter leaves the kidney and gets connected to urinary bladder. The basic functional unit of each kidney is nephron. There are approximately 1.3 million nephrons in each kidney. At least 4 lakh them must remain functional to ensure survival. Each nephron consists of an enlarged terminal end called the renal corpuscle, a proximal tubule. The distal tubule opens into the renal capsule, proximal tubule, and distal tubules are in the renal cortex. The collecting tubules and parts of loops of Henle enter the renal medulla. Apparent blood vessels, apparent blood vessels, Bowman capsule, glomerulus, proximal tubule, distal tubule, loop of Henle. This one is collecting duct. This is uriniferous tubule. This is the structure of nephron. Most nephrons measure 50 to 55 millimeters in length. 15% of the nephrons are larger and they remain near the medulla. These are called juxtamedullary nephrons. They have large loops of Henle. The renal corpuscle of the nephron consists of Bowman capsule and a branch of capillaries called the glomerulus. The Bowman's capsule, the outer and inner layers are called respectively. The outer parietal layer is composed of simple squamous epithelium. The inner visceral layer surrounds the glomerulus. It consists of specialized cells called podocytes. The walls of the glomerular capillaries are lined with endothelial cells. There is a basement membrane between endothelial cells of the glomerular capillaries and the podocytes. Basement membrane and the podocytes, a Bowman capsule, make up the filtration membrane. The glomerulus is supplied with blood by a apparent arteriole. It is drained by an apparent arteriole. The cavity of Bowman capsule opens into the proximal tubule. The proximal tubule is also called proximal convoluted tubule. It is approximately 14 millimeter long, 60 micrometer in diameter. Posteriorly, the proximal tubule continues as the loop of Henle. Each loop has descending limb. The first part of the descending limb is similar in structure to the proximal tubule. The loops of Henle that extend in medulla become very thin near the end of the loop. The first part of the ascending limb is also very thin and it consists of simple squamous epithelium, but it soon becomes thick. The distal tubule, also called the distal convoluted tubules, are not as long as the proximal tubules. Ureters and urinary bladder. The ureters extend inferiorly from the renal pelvis. They arise medially at the renal hilum to reach the urinary bladder. The bladder is meant for temporarily storing the urine. The urinary bladder is a hollow muscular bag. It lies in the pelvic cavity. The size of the bladder depends on the presence of or absence of urine. The bladder capacity varies from 120 to 320 milliliter, filling up to 500 milliliter as tolerated. Maturation will occur at 280 milliliters. The ureters enter the bladder inferiorly on its posterolateral surface. The urethra exits the bladder inferiorly and anteriorly at the junction of the urethra with the urinary bladder. Smooth muscles of bladder form the internal urinary sphincter. Around the urethra, there is another external urinary sphincter. The sphincters control the flow of urine through the urethra. In the urethra extend to the end of the penis, where it opens to the outside. In male, the urethra is 80 to 20 centimeter long. In the female, the urethra is shorter. It is about 4 centimeter long and 60 millimeter in diameter.